Thank the gods above. Now, looking at this first rollout of this one, it seems that Podolski and Questif got there roughly about the same time. Bit of damage on Podolski. He's got in the pack. He's just sort of playing there. The whole team came through IT, which I've not seen before. That's really cool. They've taken really good control of the red crates there. They're sort of cleaning up players that are trying to jump into them. Pablo going down, though, to Podolski. They're just sort of taking that high ground. They've all sort of postured towards each other on either side, but Questif is sort of behind the entirety of the Boomer team, so he's gotten cleaned up, and there was a big jump out of both soldiers onto the lucrative there. They've actually managed to get that.
That's a full wipe right there.
You may not have seen, but what's it called? The Boomers were actually running crits there, and they used right on the end there.
Ooh.
So, it was really impressive.
One of the scouts managed to kill themselves on that mid fight. It's an interesting mid fight because they all ran through IT, which I like you, I really haven't seen before, and it seemed like they had gotten themselves into some really good positioning there. But you know, a couple frags didn't go their way, and all of a sudden they're on the back foot. Lucrative gets mulched by both soldiers, and the mid fight goes in favor of the Boomers.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Boomers, right? Sorry, guys, it's still a little bit early here.
So Exile managed to pick up, I believe that is Mela on the flank there, and the crits has come out from Podolski. He's taken out the medic, he's taken out Exile. A lot of gamers going down. They should have known about this one. 2 players up on either team. Ukiwaka behind LOL. I don't know which scout is which. There. Yeah.
Now we just got a one-on-one situation.
It's 2-on-1.
Actually,
Both
2-on-1
soldiers
now.
On the demo, man.
The cavalry has arrived.
Yeah, it's not what you want to see. But looking at it, both those soldiers went down super low, so they're having to go really slow to come on to second here, which, I mean, when you've got your med, both scouts and a soldier, I think you can defend that without really stressing too much if you're King's Crew here.
Oh, definitely. But now you're just seeing them get bullied back out, and you're seeing King's Crew, they've really taken control of the second point. But if you look right outside Choke, you've got all the Boomers players just chilling out, trying to make some space. They're actually going to walk through here right now.
Yeah, they've muscled in really well.
Donski's actually going to go down though, so that's going to be a big pick. And then
Mela.
Yeah, Mela goes down too, so that's 2 players down. So it's pretty much an open invitation for King's Crew just to come back into this midpoint. And Boomers do have Uber though. They're going to use it here and push back the approach, and they're all just going to go chill out around the point.
But that's really good for King's Crew because they've just gotten their Uber, so they're able now to push with 100% Uber ad and just wander in. As long as they don't lose any players to the scout that's behind them in the lobby there, I think this might be their best chance to take mid back for sure. But that scout behind managed to take out the demo, not a very good situation if you're there. Exile going down as well on the flank, took down the soldier to like 10 health. So it's up to them. Do they want to use the Uber ad or do they want to wait for players? I mean, they've just gotten back a couple frags, so now it's a 1-player ad including spawn. Yeah, they're wandering in the middle.
You seen the Boomers have just backed out really far out to Choke, saying like, they know that they've not got the Uber advantage, so they've got to maybe take a step back, regroup, and now, they, despite not having the super advantage, they're definitely going to test for the point. And actually, Mela's going to get Lucrative to pop off here on point. But our Boomer squad, they're far back enough to kite out that Uber.
I don't know, I think it's a really good idea to just leapfrog your advantage here, which is probably a good thing that they've jumped there. But yeah, looking at this one, it looks like they've just wandered back into mid. Obviously, there's not really much that King's Crew can do to contest this because they'll just get ripped by the Uber. I think they've sent a soldier or 2 in to sort of attempt something, but they haven't really achieved much. They're up to 50% now, just sitting back on second. Sort of spamming that choke, but
that's for sure.
Yeah, I think they need to be further back there. When you're
they're going to take this all the way to last.
Yeah.
Lucrative did die in that exchange though, so if they can get the second point capped, which there's still nobody on it, they've just dropped 2 players in that exchange. Well, now we've got one of the players on there. But they drop 3 in that exchange. The med still gets out, Badonsky gets out, but it's still probably not ideal. But you know, as long as the med gets out, as long as you continue to build that Uber, then you know that it's basically yours. But you're seeing King's Crew. They're gonna push back out here into second, saying like, we got the player ad. Doesn't matter about the Uber ad. We can get something to happen here.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to leapfrog those advantages like I was talking about earlier. There is a soldier behind them in the lobby, but he's being caught out. It looks like he's probably stuck there. I don't think he's going to manage much. The Uber has come out on the side of the Boomers, and they do end up taking out Lucrative. I think he was a bit far forward given the Uber disc. They might have thought they had a bit more than they did. Banking on Kozen not healing for the entire time as they sort of like wandered out there. It's looking really dire for them with the entirety of the Boomers walking into last here. Good defense so far, though. There's a player on the point. No one's really there to contest him.
That's going to be the first round. That was a bit back and forth, too. You didn't really ever see King's Crew get into the Boomers' second point, but even then, you know, it certainly was hotly contested. Badonsky and Q-Stiff are both fast out here on this mid-fight, you know, exchanging early stickies. But Okiwaka is going to bomb right on top of that blue crate, get some early rockets out, and now the mid-fight proper has started. So nobody's really gone down yet. Both teams really posturing to get that midpoint. No sides are really being played hard. And Lucrative is actually going to go down. I think Mela was the one who got the frag off on the med. And now it's, you know, do or die here, get the med or get out. And, you know, Lucrative has gone down, Pab's gone down. Okiwaka almost gets the blue med right there. And Banah's going to be a cleanup for Boomers again.
Yeah, but Questif actually managed to get through and just get a sticky off after both of his soldiers bombed in and got that med down super low. He managed to kill Kozen with 95% Uber. Which, yeah, I mean, they had to wipe for it, but that's fine, because now you're going to be able to defend last, at the very least, probably second. However, there is Rando, I believe, sitting in last. He's gotten behind them. They don't even know he's there. He's going to be able to jump out, probably from 2. I think he's going to be able to take Lucrative here.
He's coming out roll it. No, he's looping back around to 1. He must have been called out for the other team. And he's going to jump up.
He's on!
Oh, that's a big pick. Oh, that's massive. 2 picks with 1 bomb. Maybe not 1 bomb, but that's massive.
That was a brilliant play out of him. I believe that's Rando. I'm not sure which is which. Aliasing should be a crime punishable by death. But, look, I mean, you've just taken out the med and a scout for a single soldier. This is ideal.
Uber is going to come out here too.
Ad. Yeah. I mean, look, they're just sort of cleaning up players nice and slow. The sticks are being dead on the point. They're just able to play it now.
I just need to edge it just a little bit. Lucrative does go down.
Edge me, baby!
There's only one up its exile. It's not going to matter. That's the second point to the Boomers.
Yeah, I think it was a really valiant defense by King's Crew. And I mean, I would have fallen for the same thing. I wouldn't have known he was there. Like, I can't criticize him for that. But jeez, what a play, man.
That was massive. That's what we call a fat play in the industry.
We're looking at this mid. Badonsky actually getting pressured pretty early. So is Quest. If he's down super low, he does end up going down to Rando, who did a really deep bomb. Not looking good if you're King's Crew here, but they've taken a lot of the high ground. Okiwaka going down to Badonsky. Their players are just sort of getting mulched here because they're getting focused a bit better. It looks like they're not really choosing who they want to shoot in advance. They're just sort of like shooting whatever's in front of them. They're going to have to back out here, but they have kept the mid up this time. They've got 5 players up. They're going to be able to defend 2, I think. But it does seem like the Boomers might be running crits again? No, they're just built way better. So they have Uber. King's Crew actually don't here. They're 10% off. I don't think it's going to make a difference.
There's a scout behind for the Boomers.
Like, it looks like King's Crew know about it, but...
And Lucrative does go down.
Yeah, he does end up dropping. It looks like with all the confusion there. So both the scouts were behind trying to delete that one scout that got behind them because they obviously once bitten, twice shy, you know? And then a soldier jumped in from choke, and while everyone was looking at him, Badonsky just wandered in and just put a couple stickies on the man. It was really, really good. Also, we've been having the soldiers the wrong way around. I've just checked chat.
Looks like our pre-match prediction for King's Crew is a little bit off today. Granted, there's still 20 minutes left in the match, but right now, this early game, a lot of it, the Boomers are just looking pretty dominant. And the Uber is going to come out through lower IT right now. There's going to be a bunch of bombs going everywhere. One of the soldiers goes down. One of the scouts goes down too. I wish there wasn't any aliases. Mods, please fix. But they are going to get the point here. But Lucrative does have about a 40% advantage with their Uber over Cozy at the moment. They're just going to say, no, we're just going to build the rest of this. We're going to, hold back close to choke. And, we got 2 rounds up on the board already, so it's not like they have to really rush this next push. They can sort of take their time a little bit. And Lucrative and his squad of King's Crew looks like they might want to make something happen. Exile actually does get through. They do use the Uber running through choke right here. They're trying to focus the med. They don't get anything. The med backs all the way out as far as he can. They don't get any frags with that. Now Boomers have full Uber advantage here. They've got 2 scouts up. But actually now they're all going to go down. There's a full wipe from King's Crew onto the Boomer squad. So now they're just like, all right, we'll come in a second. There's Randa who got forward spawn, but he's getting focused by the scout pretty heavily, and he goes down. So that's going to be another full wipe.
They do all get forward spawns, but I mean, if you're gonna cook your Uber like that, there's no better way to play it than what they did just there. Like baiting them in onto that low ground and then just drilling them. I mean, Kozen died with 99. There was nothing he could do, but it was just perfect.
It's not even a pop it, don't drop it type of scenario because there was nothing to pop.
But it looks like a lot of good focus here. There was a bit of a fight as the Boomers tried to sort of contest the middle there since they did all get the forward spawn. Badonsky going down right towards the end of that fight. That's going to clear out second, I think, for King's Crew to be able to take it. A lot of gamers down. They're 4 down.
4 down. The Med does get out. He still has about 70% Uber, but Lucrative does have the Uber ad here, and they're actually going to put the soldier on the point and just try to make something happen here. The Uber does get popped out on one of the soldiers here. He's jumping around trying to create some havoc. This point is stickied off though. The scouts are like, no, we don't care about stickies. We're going to play the point anyway. There's a soldier up in heaven.
Side.
And he's been spotted. He's going to go down here pretty quickly. Yep. He's dead. He's dead, Jim. What can you do?
I think that was a really well played defense from the Boomers. They were able to sort of like kite the Uber out just enough to get there, and then they could just use back, and then it's like, what are you going to do? Like, we're invulnerable. Like... But they're down about 20% ad here. If Lucrative and his scout keep building here, I think King's Crew could come out of this able to use the ad straight through, but they're going to have to be ready to push like the moment they get it, which it looks like they are ready to do. They're ready at the choke. They've just used through the big jump out of the demo. He's straight onto Kozen. A lot of damage onto him. He does end up going
go down.
This is a really textbook push. This is absolutely fantastic. So Kozen died with 97. That was such good counting of the Ubers, man. Oh my lord.
I have to call up one of these guys, be like, hey, can you mentor me on counting all this stuff? We got... I think I said this yesterday. When, in some levels of TF2, when you have a 10% ad, a lot of teams, they think that's not enough to push off on. These top teams, a 10% ad, that's plenty of time. They know exactly where to use it. And even though they have given up the second point, dropping the med when they've got 97% Uber is, massive. And that counting, that can't be discounted, so to speak.
Thing is, though, they did lose the demo right at... They did lose their demo right at the end of that push, which sort of opened them up to getting pushed here, but it hasn't happened. They've got full Uber, they're able to walk back into 2 here. Rando going down, he went for a bit of jump, I think he was trying to catch the med there and force him. Badonsky sort of spamming from door 1. Wow, Exile actually going down to the soldier in lobby there. He got midded and then just like, he got air shot, sorry. And then just like slapped himself into the floor. Both teams have over here.
He does say nice shot in the chat, so at least he's recognizing it. But yeah, so both teams even Uber's here.
Yeah. And
Exile actually has come up sniper, so let's see if we can get a fat sniper pick off on the med or any class.
Yeah.
Looks like they're probably going to be edging door 1. No, I lied. He's peeking lobby of all places.
I believe Yite is lol. I'm not sure, but he's up on NG. He's got a level 2 sentry in a interesting spot.
Well, Pablo does go down here. He's crept forward a little bit too much and gets mulched by 2 soldiers out and roll out. We have a sentry gun right up on the point. And the Boomers do have control of this lobby area. They've managed to push back all of King's crew back into second point. The Sniper really hasn't had much chance to peek anything or really do anything. But he is going to peek door 1. Shoots and gets nothing. So body shot on Rando is all he gets. So standard defensive positioning. He does get mulched there. Exile does. So they're down a sniper. See how everything starts to unfold here. It just seems like right now we might just have a bit of a stalemate situation. No team really wanting to press the issue. And then Rando does go down there on a bomb. Exile does come back up as a scout, so you get the standard meta coming back out. We still do have a sentry out. I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon.
It's down fairly low though. It only needs 1 spam rocket, but it has been built back up. They're able to spam it from door 1 for free. Here. Exile's going to get drilled though, man.
Nothing comes out there. Now that Uber gets popped out. Uber's popping off in lobby. No frags really exchanged here.
Yeah, I don't think High Five could do anything with that one. The sentry's still up. All they have to do is spam this one, and then they're essentially up a few players here, but it looks like they just lost Pablo. So I think they're just going to back off. The demo's really low. I think they're just going to reset and start this one again. Okiwaka sort of spamming in 2, not really achieving very much. I think he might have wanted to get back a bit earlier, but that's on him.
I do want to note that we do have a slight Uber advantage over on the side of King's crew. They've got about 20 ad, and I reckon they know that they have it too. They don't have the players though. They've lost Exile, they've lost Q-Stiff, and it looks like they're going to lose Lucrative as well. He does get popped up. He does surf it out pretty well, but they've lost 3 players in that sort of fight for second. So now Red's lost their Uber advantage, and now they're going to have to push. Well, now you're seeing the Boomers push back into mid. They've got mid fight round 3.
I think if they want to defend this, they're going to have to use, which is a really shite spot to be in. And yeah, they've ended up having to use. They haven't managed to get very much with it, and they're just going to have to leave mid. Kozen did use on the tail end of that one, so it's back to like more or less equal Ubers. Lucrative maybe has about a 10% ad, but I think by the time you build that up, it's not going to make a difference. They are pushing back in though. Yeah. They've actually got a lot of ground here for not very much effort. They're sort of all playing the low ground though, which is terrifying. Rando jumping through, taking out Pablo. He does end up dying for his efforts. KJ Quad standing there desperately waiting for an arrow, ends up dying to Badonsky. They're going to have to back out, yeah. So they lost a couple gamers, but it was a very good push. Looking at
now
this
you're seeing
one,
a lot of pressure. Okiwaka does go down as well, and the Med and Q-Stiff have to, yeet themselves out door 1. Get a scout on the point, and now they do have even Ubers, but it looks like they're going to force the issue right here. They have a scout up on the point. They've got a lot of cap time. The scout seemed to forward, he could have stayed on that point and gotten it, but Ubers get exchanged out, and really, they could have someone go and touch that cap point in maybe 2 seconds and have the round, but they're going to back out. They did lose Badonsky and their other scout in that exchange, so
yeah, losing Badonsky
back to
and
second
High Five there. Yeah, it's It's not a good spot to be in, and I think King's Crew played it really well. They used their Uber like late compared to the boomers there, which is what you want to do on last. KJ Quad actually went straight through choke, ends up getting cleaned up.
There's a
Walker's
soldier behind.
Oh!
And the med just barely, almost escapes out of there. But there's a last-second frag from the demo. He does get the med, but they drop 3 players in that. So, you know, boomers are just going to say, listen, you know, we've got the man advantage. We're going to push into this. Lucrative is going to get his Uber here, and it'll be interesting to see if they use this. Well, probably will. I guess it's interesting to see how they'll use it. But there's a soldier up in heaven. He's going to get called out.
Yeah.
Mela goes down. But they've got the full advantage here. They've got player advantage too, so... They're not looking at this. You don't see boomers building right now either, but they're all going to come through lobby. They're going to use through up top IT. Players are going to get killed. Mela's gonna go down. I think that's Mela. Or Rando, sorry.
Yeah, Rando's E. We were informed just earlier. I don't think that was the best Uber of all time, man. I don't think they needed to use there to get second. I'm not in the business of criticizing teams, but I think, you know, it's really put them in a spot here where they're just gonna get pushed back in the last. They do take out...
the crits are used. It's crits.
I didn't even notice.
That's what happens when you use bird's eye views instead of POV.
Yeah.
Nothing really comes out of the crits, so.
Yeah,
and now
so Pablo
Lucrative
died
has
on
massive Uber ad.
Yeah, Pablo died on the flank, and it looks like they've just wandered back in. They had to get out, obviously, with the crits came through, but they just sort of like clumped into RT or PC or whatever Americans call it. And yeah, they've just managed to get their Uber again. So now they're Uber versus crits. They've used their Uber through. Quest have gone really, really deep. He ends up getting another flash. He almost died.
And he does die.
Oh, he does. Bugger.
Rip. And now the crits are going to come out.
Hey.
Doesn't really get anything. You get that Met gets disconnected from his scout. And now Boomers, they've dropped like 5 players in that exchange. They dropped 5 players. They've only got 1 scout up. And he's going to get mulched. So all you've got is Rando, who's decided very smartly, nah, I'm just going to get out of second. You get some stickies up, you know, but I think King's Crew just they've got free reign just to walk in and grab this point. Which you're going to see them do right now.
Yeah. I mean, this is the sort of play that I was sort of hoping for from these guys. Like, they're actually playing a bit better now. They've had a couple rounds to sort of come into their own. And with 7 minutes remaining, I mean, this is where you want to be. Like, you can take this round. You got a huge Uber. They just got to play the last correctly.
So they do come in. Get the heavy and a sentry to deal with. The sentry does go down. And there's not really any focus on the heavy. Lucrative is going to go down here. I think Rando gets some frags off. And King's Crew has dropped 2 players in this, and they haven't taken care of the heavy whatsoever. So it's a bit of a botched last push. You know, I don't think they were I mean, they should have expected a heavy in the sentry, but you know, there just didn't seem to be a lot of focus calls. At least that's what I think would happen. I can't hear the other team's communications, but.
Absolutely. I mean, it was a bit of a botched last push, but I mean, it's not that bad for them. Yeah, they're on like full Uber dis with a player down on middle now, but it's actually not that bad because I think they can force out the Uber here. Oh, it looks like a really aggressive use coming out of the Boomers though. They're pushing into choke. Looks like Lucrative might be able to get away.
Quistis does go down. Lucrative is on 3 health here. And he's going to go down.
Yeah, it's just all gone to custard, hasn't it? Exile's still in there. He manages to take out the mid.
I gotta say, this has been one of the closest like back and forth rounds of TF2 that I've seen in a long time. It's just been that constant like leapfrog of the Ubers back and forth, back and forth. You've seen crits once or twice, but beyond that, like every team is... There's rarely, if ever, been a couple of like even Uber situations, and even when we have seen these even Uber situations, both teams are like, listen, we've got to force the issue. You know, they're not waiting for like some small pick. They're just like, all right, we're just gonna use into. You're gonna have to use back. What are you gonna do? But now you're seeing boomers are taking the second point. They're realizing like we've got 4 minutes. Let's get this last round up on the board. But they are down both soldiers. So you're gonna see Cozy, the med, Badonsky. They're just gonna get out and say, hey, you know, we're all right. We don't need this point. It's not worth dying over. And build out the rest of the side too, because they do have Cozen. Sorry, not Cozy. My bad. Been told by the source chat. Anyway, you know they do have slight ad here, but I think if I'm them with 2 rounds up on the board, 4 minutes remaining, you sort of have all the time in the world to stalemate this out. But they're gonna Lucrative is gonna use his Uber, and they're gonna drop both scouts. So this isn't a good look for the boomers, and they're gonna have to get out here or risk getting died on, getting dead, getting killed. I don't know how to speak English. It's like 5:30 a.m. right now.
Double scout ad is so strong, and King's Crew are using that to their advantage here. They've pushed them all the way out of mid. They're in 2. The forward spawns have come through though, which is going to be really bad for them trying to fight this second point. Oh dear, this has all gone to custard. They're sort of getting focused here because of the spawns. I think they really should have just like committed to capping that mid, like stacked it to block those forward spawns. They're going to have to back all the way out here. Lucrative down very low. He does end up dying. And that's more or less a wipe. Okiwaka just spawned. That's, it was good play, followed by, you know, they just got caught out. I don't know what to tell you, you know?
It's just that back and forth action I've been talking about, man. You know, there's no... It's... Like I said, it's just back and forth. Ubers are used, Ubers are exchanged, medics die, you know, players die, and then, you know, it's been nearly a constant back and forth for both second points this entire round. And we only have 2 rounds up on the board. This round has been going on for 18 minutes, I would say. But now, boomers do have a 30% or a full 70% ad, and they do have player advantage over King's Crew, so it looks like they're gonna take this in. Door 5 is where we're taking this Uber in. Uber hasn't been exchanged yet. They're gonna stack the point. They don't even need to use the Uber, and that's gonna be 3rd round up on the board. And GGs have been exchanged.
Yeah, I mean, with 2 minutes remaining, you can play this out for posterity, but I mean, there's not much you can do. Also, I've just been informed that AA is Laz instead of High Five. I think he's ringing apparently. Thank you, people in the chat. That was good of you.
Thank you, chat. Just remember, guys, aliasing should be punishable by death.
It really should be. It should be a capital offense. Alright, I've written that one down on the fact sheet.
Yeah, me
so
too.
I've
crossed out Cozy and written down Cozen. So sorry about that. You can tell, guys. We really pay attention to the North American scene here in Australia.
Hell of a lot. Just watching out this last little bit. I mean, Questiv's running around with the pan. I think they've just committed to, yeah, look, there's not much we're going to be able to do here.
Silly strat
just have a bit of fun with it, yeah.
Double snipers, what more could you ask for?
Exactly. But I mean, look, they managed to take out one of the soldiers. The Ubers come out from the side of the boomers. They're sort of in the last there. I think they're probably going to end up with another last here. Maybe not. They've just lost their med and a scout and a soldier. This is like the best defense they've had yet. Yeah, I'm assuming they didn't wait for STV to catch up and change maps because we just got disconnected. So I'll try to find these logs for you guys.
Logs time, boys. Logs time.
I've typed in clogs.t. I don't know why I've never thought of that. No, there's no result there, but it's very funny.
We've just been informed that our producer is about to go buy the rights for clogs.tf, so keep an eye out for that in a couple days, guys.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so
Alright.
let's have a look at these stats here. Give us your take, Snazzy.
I'm still trying to get the logs up, so I think you might have to give it a crack.
All right,
for a
then I
second.
don't mind if I do. So, what the logs are telling me is that the boomers just really did a number on them, which is interesting to me because if I'm if I read the Team Fortress TV post correctly, no, not that post, the other post, the a lot of the boomers players are just now coming back to TF2 after a bit of a break, but you're seeing Bodonsky and Laz are both having a full 300 damage per minute. Um, uh, what are the other players? Mela, Rando, 250, and then the other scout, Yite, just barely under 300 damage per minute. The frags are pretty impressive too. You're seeing. So I keep on having to look down at my sheet to find out whose alias is which. Laz, 28, 15, and 15 going absolutely huge. Bodonsky, maybe he heard me talk a little bit of smack before the game. He's gone 17 and 11, and he was having a great game. And meanwhile, you look at the other team, Okiwaka, for example, on King's Crew, 7 and 22. He still had a respectable 250 damage per minute, but like the other team, they just, not getting the frags, not getting the damage, and as a result, the boomers take the
In
game.
in his defense, though, I believe he's playing Roma, so obviously he's going to have a pretty shitty stat line. But yeah, we'll have a look at the meds here. The heal distribution's pretty standard, not much to talk about there. Lucrative with one drop, but that's, it sort of happens when 4 Kritzkriegs come out on the other side. Yeah, not a hell of a lot to talk about. However, we are seeing, deaths after charge. Cozen actually going down 4 times in post-Uber, whereas Lucrative only went down twice. So, I don't know. I've always been a believer that post-Uber is where the games are won. But it's not showing on these logs. I don't know.
I just want to confirm that third round we had was a fat 19 minutes long.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, no, this is it looks like a really grotty stat line, 4-0, the way of the boomers here, but 4-0 in 30 minutes, that's there's a lot of fighting in there.
It was a very close game, honestly. You saw a lot of back and forth, and you're seeing a lot of that leapfrogging of the Ubers, and yeah, it definitely it was decided by razor thin margins because you did see King's Crew have to push into last a couple times. They ultimately were all botched pushes because they didn't take the round, but it wasn't as if they were rolling over on the defensive the entire time. They were pushing the issue a lot of the game. So I think it'll make for an interesting second map. I definitely could see them coming out for this map, taking a couple rounds, maybe taking a few rounds early, and then saying to the boomers, basically, man, it's your guys' time now. You've got to push this. But on the flip side, the boomers, they played just a really tight game, extremely tight as a team, and as a result, a 4-0. Even with that last round being 18 minutes long, 4-0 is that's pretty decisive,
Absolutely. I think we're just going to take a really brief break while these players get into the server. I don't know about you, but my throat is dry. So we'll be right back, gamers. Live.
And welcome,
Hello,
welcome
everyone.
back, gamers.
So The LAN is actually in 2020. The trailer still says 2019. Sorry about that, everyone. But we were prepared for that one.
We know how these things go down.
Anyway, welcome back. This is still the BTS TF2 NA closed qualifiers, and we are still casting King's Crew versus the Boomers. Jazz, I heard a little bit of news. Do you want to break that one to the stream?
I
don't know if we're allowed to comment.
You have put me on the spot. I guess I might. So we've just gotten word that top TF2 medic player Nursey, the medic of Froyotech, has actually just been banned by RGL. That's about all I can say. You do your own research, TF.TV.
Yeah, we're not gonna comment on any details, I don't think. Just because it's a bit of a hot issue. But there's a whole thread on TFTV. So I'm not gonna comment on that one. And I hope you don't either, because we're professional.
We're so professional that we mention it, but then we can't give any more details about it. So
Look.
It's an unfortunate situation all around, but it is what it is. Absolutely. And it doesn't matter because we're not talking about Nursey here. We're talking about Boomers versus King's Crew right here, right now, even though they're still in pregame.
We're just waiting on these guys to ready up on Snake Order here. They're obviously just DMing a little bit.
Yeah, I reckon both teams are still just sort of using this pregame time to chat, figure out what the heck that they did wrong, at least if you're King's Crew, whereas Boomers, they're probably just sitting there thinking like, what the heck is taking so long? I've been spectating on Badonsky this entire warm-up, and he's been spending the entire warm-up trying to find sneaky, sticky spots. So, so he's prepared, everybody's prepared, and now we're just waiting. I think one of the players is actually AFK on the side of Boomers, at least going by the chat. Who it is, I don't know. I think it might be the medic Kozin. Kozin is AFK, and he's not realizing that he's both putting the schedule behind, he's putting us behind too, and I actually do have to go to work at some point today, so goes and come back. We've got casting to do.
I got a day off. It's Queen's birthday, isn't it? Public holiday.
No, it's weird because for those who don't know back at home, in Australia we celebrate the Queen's birthday, but in the state that I live in, the state that I live in, Victoria, it's in June or July. In
something like that.
Queensland, it's today, I guess.
Yeah, the 7th.
I would imagine in WA or South Australia, because they're all backwards as all heck. They're it's probably in like, July or June or January. One of the months that starts with a J.
Yeah. It looks like Kozin's back, and I've just heard a team ready up. Think Australia has a queen. No, technically Australia does not have a queen, but because we're a Commonwealth country, we still sort of identify with the Queen of England. We have her representative here, but yeah. Lower final, Boomers is literal TF2 royalty. Are they rusty? I can't tell you if they're rusty or washed or anything, but they definitely did get relegated to the lower bracket. I think they've definitely got a solid chance to end up back into like the finals.
Is it the team that wins the lower bracket finals go to like the grand finals to compete for the thing. I'm sorry.
Well, the team that loses between Ford Gaming and Black Bars is going to be put into the losers final, along with the winner of whoever this is, Boomers or King's Crew. And I believe that's pretty much competing for third place. Just looking at how the Boomers went previously, they did end up losing to... They beat Tune Squad 2-0, then they lost to Black Bar 2-1, and then they beat Dunk Masters 2-0. And that's where they've come to now. Black Bars has progressed on upwards. It looks like Ford Gaming is one map up on them. I haven't checked the other stream, but just looking at the bracket. But it seems like we're going live, so I'm going to quit chat and shid. Maybe it's a bait, maybe it's not. God knows. It does look like we are going live.
We are live. Map 2 of the lower losers semifinal.
Yeah, so going into this one, I'm on the old bird's eye view. You know how I feel about bird's eye, brother. It looks like Questif got there a little bit earlier than Badonsky did this time. Both teams just sort of getting into the middle here, taking control of that high ground, which obviously is so important on Snake, but this is really aggressive out of King's Crew. They're doing so much damage. They've taken out Kozen nice and early. Looks like they're super far forward. They're huge midi out of KJ Quad.
Yeah.
KJ Quad? KJ Quad? I don't know how to say it.
And Labs is just going to get out. That was nearly a full wipe. That was pretty convincing. That was interesting because they all of King's Crew, instead of rolling out the normal way through Saw, they actually went through lowers.
Laz is going to get a frag here. Never mind.
Nah. You cursed
Sorry
him.
to interrupt.
No, sorry. They all ran through Kitchen instead, and as a result, they were able to just get right in front of the Lucrative and all of Boomers, and it was a pretty convincing mid. You know, I'll have to think of all that when we play Snakewater here in Oz Fortress.
But it looks like the Ubers are going to come out. Lucrative
is going to go down.
Got sniped. What a shot! Oh my god!
Remember, gamers, that's why if you're gonna pop out a shutter, use before you open. I've learned that the hard way many a time.
And that's actually really, really awful for his team there. However, KJ Quad and Pablo together managed to take out Kozen as they pushed out here. So that's going to put them back in the good books. They're going to have a 20-30 ad here. Maybe more, actually. 40 odd.
Nope. Lucrative is going to go down. He kind of got caught between that little area of logs and that fence. And as a result, ends up going down. So we're going to have another reset. We're going to have some nice ad out from Kozen on the Boomer squad. But now we've got 3 players down on both teams, so it's just going to be a bit of a reset. And the Boomers are going to have about a 30%, 20-30 ad here, so it's it's not looking too good as far as King's Crew. Well, it's not looking too good for Boomers really, since they're on last already. But it'll be interesting to see how they push off of this.
I don't think they are. I mean, they've got the engine. They've just lost 2 players. I think they're going to be staying last here. The Sentry's only on level 1, so it's pretty spammable. It actually looks like King's Crew wants to sort of push this dry a little bit, but I think they've decided that might be a bad idea. Exile's sort of getting baited by his team.
Remember, guys, aliasing and baiting are both punishable by death. It looks like
King's Crew for
Lucrative did hard build their ad, and so they both have Uber, and they're just going to trade and just have a reset, do some leapfrog. So we're going to see how this post-Uber fight unfolds. But no player's really committed, so it looks like they might have just tried to get the force out. We're going to reset, but King's Crew did drop 2 players in that exchange. So they're just going to get maybe bullied out, because you're seeing Lucrative and his boys go out through yard. Both all the Boomer players are going to jump on to the midpoint, the second point, deny spawners, but they don't deny spawners. Yeah, we're going to have an Uber ad reset onto mid.
Yeah, so Boomer still has like a 10% ad, which, as you've said, is enough to push when you're playing at this sort of level. But I think they're just going to be waiting this one out. I think it's going to be a bit of a stalemate. just looking at the way both teams are playing, although Okiwaka does go down on the flank there. Not a good spot to be in if you are King's Crew here, 10%, 20% dis, and down a player. It looks like they're actually going to have to just go, or they're going to have to force to hold this middle. I think they're going to have to force anyway, so both teams' Ubers have come out here. Couple flashes. King's Crew looks to be having the better end of this Uber though, but they haven't really killed any players. A lot of gamers still up on the sides of the Boomers. They've actually taken out Questif by Badonsky. King's Crew does have the high ground though, which is looking really good for them. Exile going down to Badonsky as well. Badonsky putting in some work here on this mid. KJ Quad going down right towards the tail end of that one, and King's Crew is out of here.
That's 3 big picks, you know, a scout, soldier, and the demo. You know, so that's area denial gone. That's, you know, bombing gone, and then that's a, you know, fast as heck Boston boy who just get in your face and meat shot you gone as well. So now, really, you know, good. King Crew, who were, if we remember correctly, 60 seconds ago pushing in the last, are now having to hold their last point. And they do have a 10% disad. Okiwaka has just fed into the Boomer squad as well, so I imagine we're going to see a push here very soon. But both Ubers have reset. Both teams do have Uber now. And Pablo is out here on the sniper class. You see Mela come in and try to get a pick off. It doesn't get anything. Now we're actually seeing a double sniper. Both Pablo and Okiwaka are on sniper, trying to get that fabled headshot, highlight reel type of material.
Well, they have to make up for Lucrative's mistake earlier, so...
Yeah. Yeah, so you're seeing the Boomers just chill up around bats, you know, not trying to peek any sight lines. Interesting to see how they push off of this, because like I said, we do have 2 snipers up for King's Crew. I was trying to get whatever sort of...
by the way, that Yite is up on sniper as well for the Boomers, so he's sort of like peeking in a little bit. He does do 150 to one of the soldiers, I did see, and then he takes out Pablo.
Down.
And that's giving his team just enough room to sort of push in and take the ground here.
They're gonna
Yite getting a shot onto Exile.
We do get an Uber exchange. So let's see how this post-fight unfolds. Badonsky does go down. Mela also... sorry, not Mela. Rando does go down. And so does Mela. Mela eventually goes down, so... You know, Kozin just says, nope, let's just get out. It's time to leave. We've overstayed our welcome by a long shot.
Yeah, they're not chasing too hard for that, which I think is good, because I think they've made that mistake a couple of times previously. In the last map, for instance. So yeah, I mean, look, we still don't even have a round on the board. Just been about 8 minutes in. There is a huge 20-30% Uber ad on the side, 20-ish actually, percent Uber ad on the side of the Boomers. So
they're doing their best to hard build it too.
Yeah, and they're already in super fast. This is really good for them. Looks like Lucrative's just going to have to back out. He's actually caught up on bats. He's just gotten the Uber, which is so good. They have lost 2. They lost both their soldiers pre-getting Uber there, and they're trying to take out gamers here. It's both scouts versus both scouts in the med. Exile going down very low. Ends up dying.
Lucrative does
Badonsky
go
taking
down.
out Lucrative.
Q-Stiff is dead. Almost. Oh, that's almost a full wipe. Now, King's Crew do get both soldiers spawning up, and the Boomers haven't capped mid yet. Or not mid, sorry, second yet. They have capped second, but that's stalled them enough time where they can't just push in, because you have 2 soldiers denying them with spam, and now you get all the spawners all at once, except for Q-Stiff, but he's coming up in just... well, he's coming up right now. But the Ubers do
played
get
that so
now.
well. They sort of played the last slowly so that they could get that Uber a second time. They've used it out. I don't think there's any way that they lose this one, really. Exile, the only one left alive, and he died. That's the first round of the Boomers.
What a round 2. Back and forth,
Yeah.
you know, saw both last point. And like you said, that was really well played. You know, they realized, we don't have to go too quickly. We can just chill out a little bit, wait to get this Uber. And even though the King's Crew did get the spawners, it doesn't matter. You know, they get that invincibility on the Boomer side, so now we got the second mid-fight unfolding right now.
I'm just going to run us through it. Both teams sort of getting a bit of ground. KJ Quad going really deep, taking out Badonsky for his efforts. AA down very low. I don't remember the actual name in the moment. That looks like King's Crew are taking a lot of ground here. They take out a second player. That's the scout. And I think they're going to be able to do this here. They've taken out a soldier as well. And then, look, I mean, Okiwaka behind almost got a huge midi onto Kozen. Kozen down very low, actually. But he does end up living. So both teams have Uber, but King's Crew have taken mid. And I think they're going to take two, more or less for free as well.
Definitely. They took a lot of space in that mid. Got some very decisive picks. You know, taking down Badonsky, taking down Mela, and taking down Laz as well. I think it was Laz. Maybe it was, yeah. It was one of the scouts.
Yite is lol. Laz is AA. I still have to wrap my head around this, man. But yeah, look, what's his name? Mela actually up on Sniper for the Boomers. He's standing in Saw there. I think that might delay a bit of a push going on, but he's in Saw rather than Grass, which is pretty impressive, and that seems to be what King's Crew have just realised, and they've just pushed all the way through Grass. Taking out one of the scouts. Mela's still up on Sniper though. Shouldn't be discounted. He's over towards Cheese there. He does end up going down.
Massive drop. Massive drop.
Get
massive
a scout
wipe.
on that second point, my lord.
And now you're just going to get that point played, and it is now 1-1. King's Crew taking that round.
Convincingly.
Big wipe
Absolutely.
there. That drop was massive.
That was such a good play with the Uber there. They just managed to catch everyone in lobby there. Clean them all up and just walk straight into last. Going into this next mid. Looks like both demos have gotten there roughly at the same time. Badonsky taking a sticky. That could be important. Not much going on other than that. Both teams sort of coming in. They're taking a bit of the high ground here. The scouts for the Boomers are both on the left-hand side there. They're sort of taking a bit of control. KJ Quad going down.
We do have a soldier in the blue saw as well.
Yeah,
it
looks like a pretty good fight from both teams. Exile going down very low, and that's fantastic. All of the gamers have come through for King's Crew there. So now they have a tiny bit of an Uber ad actually as well. I think Kozen might have just like stuffed up some of his building there.
He got forced into the kitchen area and got disconnected from all of his players, but doesn't matter. They both have Uber now, and we're going to see an exchange right here.
This is really a kind of scrappy fight for King's Crew, and they're going to have to get out because they're just caught on that low ground on Grass there. I might let you cast for a minute. My throat's dying.
It's all right. I'm past that point where I've woken up and my coffee is kicked in to the point where my coffee is not kicked in anymore, and I'm just that's the best time for it to happen in the middle of a game. But that's all right. So we're just seeing both teams just building Uber right now, sort of in you're seeing King's Crew. They're up near lowers, not really trying to push through Saw or anything, and then you're seeing the other boys, the Boomer squad, just chilling out, doing their best to get picks off. No picks yet. Actually, Mela is gonna go down, and that's sort of invitation for King's Crew to come right in. So we're gonna see the other soldier go down. Actually, Podonsky and Laz are both gonna go down as well. So that's 4 players down for the Boomers, and they're having to hold their last point once more again. So now
that was a really good dry push. Yeah. Can I just say?
It was a fantastic dry push. Like I said yesterday, what better way to start the morning than some high-level TF2? Can I get name in the chat, gamers?
Amen, brother. Praise the Lord. It looks like both teams are just sort of posturing towards each other, doing a bit of spam. I don't think they can achieve much more. King's Cross holding very passively. King's Cross? Holding very passively.
That's the train station, boy.
Oh, Mela. No, not Mela. Which one's? Lol. Yite up on Sniper.
Yite.
He was playing Sniper earlier, I'm sorry.
Pablo is going to go down here.
And I think he...
he didn't
achieve anything. But he managed to bait in a scout there who I think would just thought, oh, hey, he's way out of position, easy frag, you know? And that scout got baited hard, died. Look at him playing with fire with where he's standing a little bit, but I think he's alright. He's behind the wall, you know. So yeah, Yacht just watching on Sniper here. He's like, I mean, we've seen him pop off some solid shots. Pablo's also up on Sniper again with the super passive hold on the side of King's crew.
They really just don't want to force everything, but Exile is actually going to come up from unders. He's getting a lot of damage off on Badonsky, and he's actually going to drop Badonsky. Badonsky has gone down.
Look, I don't know if it's worth 2 players for your demo man there. Like, no, yeah, they're holding last, but you can't capitalize on that, you know? They might have been going for mid, though, which would make a bit more sense. To at least get a force out, or, God forbid, a drop. Oh, but here comes my boy, Rando,
Massive
jumping
bomb.
in.
Doesn't get the med, though. Lucrative did a good job predicting that rocket, manages to surf the damage a little bit, and they actually are. They're moving in unders. They're going to try to take this upper lobby. They're going to use through Shutter.
This is fantastic for them.
Fully gone around the other team, and Boomers have actually dropped 3 players. But it doesn't matter. Lucrative goes down. None of the other players really pushed in with him. They sort of all got clogged up in lobby.
I feel like King's crew got a little bit too greedy there. They sort of pushed in and, yeah, they'd use that Uber, but, I mean, they still know that Boomers had, and I think they should have just backed out. But look, coming into this, it looks like, yeah, Boomers are going to be able to retake 2 without too much stress. They're taking out a couple gamers right on the tail end of that one, Okiwaka and Questif. So that's demo down for King's crew. I don't know. Do you even attempt to hold mid here? Yeah, it looks like they're just going to have to get out. Badonsky's pretty far forward, though. If they can clean him up, that might make a difference. Nah, they're not going to be able to do that. Pablo going down for his efforts, so good on him. But they've taken a lot of high ground here. They might be able to convert that somehow, but like Kozen's just gotten, he's used before Lucrative got.
Yeah, and
Lucrative just got.
Barely gets. He was so weak in that exchange too.
Yeah. Rando's stuck behind.
Rando goes down. Okiwaka also goes down. So now we're going to see how this post fight unfolds.
That's fantastic.
KG Quad, he goes down, but Boomers actually, they dropped 4 players in that exchange.
It should be said, KJ Quad actually fed a saw there, which, I mean, that's pretty big. Kozen having that extra 25% here. That's going to be super fat when they're trying to defend here. And I think King's crew know it because they're holding back, man.
Like, nope, we're not gonna force it. I'm just gonna wait to see how the play unfolds. Because now you see Kozen. Kozen does have the Uber advantage now, but Mela does end up feeding into them somehow. Did not catch that. Rando, sorry. Once again, aliasing. You should die.
Both teams go with Lucrative coming through with the Uber. He's pushed right into them. Kozen coming back with his. I think Lucrative might get caught here. He's very low and he's sort of trying to get out through Kitchen. But his team's here to support him now. They've got a good amount of high ground. Okiwaka taking out a gamer.
Pablo goes down. Oh, Quad goes down.
Kozen's so low with a huge surf. Well done, man.
Top level medic ability. You love to see it, folks.
But looking at this mid, I think if you're King's crew, you just have to go, man. Like, you might be able to clean up one of their scouts there. No, they actually have player right now, and Bidonsky's down.
And they're like, listen, we're just going to push you back through Saw. This is our midpoint.
They're going down through grass, actually. I mean, if I was them, I would have just kept going through Saw. They're down in demo, right? But looks like Rando's coming in. Big damage, takes out Lucrative. Very good jump. Down. But his team's managing to do a lot here. Like, Kozen down, taking a sticky. He's down very low, but he's actually regenning, and it looks like they're going to be able to retake 2 here. Hopefully without having to use their Uber.
Back out through bats, and they actually do use Uber. And you're seeing soldiers high bombing. KJ Quad does go down there. And actually, you have... Oh wait, no, the scout's on the other team, sorry. I was about to say you've got 1 red scout under, but nope. In addition to not being able to speak English, I'm also colorblind, I guess. So there we go.
It's good to know that you're disabled. I value you the same anyway, dude.
It's at least I can admit it, you know. Admitting.
Looking at this though, I mean, Lucrative's managed to gain himself around about a 10 ad despite not healing for a second after spawning by
He's
more
actually
than
on
1
crits.
second.
Lucrative is on crits.
Yeah,
Just so you guys know.
Thanks for letting me know.
I was
He's
on
just
the
gotten
bird's
that
eye
crits,
view.
and it seems like they're trying to get in. They've used crits on a soldier. They've taken out Badonsky.
Oh, it's a
That
fat
soldier's
pick on
not really
Badonsky.
doing a hell of a lot though with it. And he's so all they've taken out is Badonsky. Now Kozen's
They do
got
take out
Uber.
Mela as well.
This is not good for King's crew. I think they were desperate to take out the medic there, which didn't go their way. Obviously, they're sort of still fighting middle a little. I think they're just trying to convert some of this to frags. It's going okay
They
for
do
them.
get a
It's not the
frag.
best.
And now it's just a bit of a scrappy fight up in Saw, and Cage Quad does go down, and I imagine Lucrative is about to go down here too.
Yeah,
Yep,
I think if you're
Lucrative does go
Lucrative
down.
there, you just you should just kill blinded.
Yeah,
But
it's really
as
all you can
embarrassing
do.
as it is. Yeah, okay, so if you're King's crew, how do you hold this last? I think you get as many off class as you can. The Okiwaka's already up on Sniper, Pablo up on NG, he's getting that sentry up. Kozen's about to get again. There is a heavy, Exiles on heavy.
You
So
get,
look, I
you get
mean-
the Putis, got the NG, got the Sniper. That's a
We
pretty
playing
good-
RGL
good-
now, boys.
That's it. Having PTSD flashbacks to that Toon Squad game yesterday. No, it was a fun game, but you're gonna see a Scout got a lot of cap time on that point. But you know, King's Crew hasn't. They've only dropped one player in this exchange, and all of the boomers are so weak. The Met does manage to get out through bottom, but he's maybe overstayed his welcome. There's only two of them up, and they're having to yeet themselves out very quickly.
I mean, it's very
Killing out that
difficult
yard
if you're
area.
pushing out a last to be greedy enough to try to kill that mid there. Kozen actually faking there, and I think they believe it as well because they're playing super carefully around that one. Kozen does almost have, but so does Lucrative. I don't know if he's still running crits. I don't believe so. No, he's back on to Uber. So both teams should have Uber here. Yeah, so both teams have Uber. We're sort of looking at a stalemate on last again. I mean, this is getting to the point where it's really almost do or die. There's 8 minutes left. If the Boomers can stalemate this out for a while and then get the round, that puts them in a really good position to win this second map.
You know what I want to see though, if we're all being honest? I want to see a golden cap. That's what I want to see. No more rounds up on the board here, boys. Let's just stalemate the rest of this game. We're actually seeing the
King's
Boomers
Crew-
are pushing in because they do have a 2-player advantage. And Scouts just trying to edge the point. They're going to get the Uber forced out. And now you're just seeing Scouts run around, soldiers doing soldier stuff. That's what they do. Oh, there's so much cap. They literally just have to touch it. And Kozen, he reads the situation, just bots for the point, gets the round up on the board. So now it's 2-1 in favor of Boomers with 7 minutes left to play. But as we've seen in some of the old IVE series, anything can happen in 7 minutes.
Absolutely. 7 minutes is more than enough. And we're seeing King's crew like play really well. Looking at this mid though, it looks like both demos got there at the same time. Once again, Questive taking a bit more damage than Madonsky is. Pablo and Exile both on that left side doing a bit of damage to who's Ruffle? Mela. Sorry, I have to look over my note sheet every time. Mela going down to Okiwaka. Both teams sort of taking the low ground here rather than the high, which is pretty different, I hate to say it. But with the one player hat here, I think King's Crew's sort of converting that. Badonsky going down. Questif actually dying as well, though, so it's more or less even at the moment. Lucrative taking a arrow to very nearly take out Yite there. But I think they're just going to commit to capping here. However, Kozen did go down.
Yeah.
So I think
We
both
see
these
both
scouts are going to bot
converging on them.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
And it just
Pablo,
goes to
Pablo
show.
goes massive. Been grinding MGE, evidently, you know, takes, yeah, add 5, folks. You know, taking out
what's,
2 players.
What's Snake Mid? I have no idea.
Snake
keep in
Mid
mind
on
you've also
NPE?
Yeah, it is.
I don't know.
I think it's like 8 or 9 or something. I don't know. I don't play MDU.
Nobody really plays past the first 6, let's be honest. Ad 5 is
But
all you
yeah,
need.
with a full Uber ad here, it looks like King's Crew are looking to take this lower. They're actually already into last, despite having not capped 2 yet.
They're like,
there is a
"It's
sentry
time
on the
to
right-hand
force the
side, which
issue."
they haven't dealt with yet, which is absolutely going to delete them if they don't do something about it. Sentry does just go down.
They've got a
Questive
lot
dying,
of cap
Lucrative
time
dying.
up on the board. Seeing big jumps. Oh, it's so close. Can they convert? The answer is no. They cannot.
With no heals there, I think if you hit the point where you're at a scrappy fight like that, there's not much to do. Like, you can try, but I don't think you're going to get it. It was valiant that they tried, though.
You really have to be, on point with every single shot that you're taking at that point. There's no room for error, and as a result, without that heal advantage, KJ Cloud is behind in the blue lobby. He can't really do much because they don't have the point.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. He's not there for that mid fight. They're engaging.
Oh, Pablo missed the stab on Koz and he's pistoling him down. He takes him out.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. He was on spy. Oh no.
The one time you have a spy play, I miss it.
Lucrative is on 70%. He does end up going down. Questive taking out both of the soldiers though, after they had just killed his medic. Could have done that earlier there, buddy. Not gonna complain too much though. So that's gonna be back to being around about a 20 to 30 disad out of King's Crew. Nah, I think they could retake middle here though. If Badonsky's a little bit far forward. He's got his mid with him. I'm talking garbage.
Wouldn't be the first time. Am I right? Ayo! Well, they're back. They're out here fighting on mid. Both scouts have gone down, and Okiwaka's really weak here up in their kitchen. And I think King's Crew, they know time is not of the essence here anymore. They've only got 3.5 minutes to get one more point up on the board and send it to a golden cap. And I'm not sure. They're gonna have to start doing some dry pushes really heavily, or else it's bad
Okiwaka getting a huge rocket onto Kozen doesn't manage to convert that to a kill or even a force, but it was very close.
They do have full Uber ad, but I think Lucrative's out here on crits. Yeah, he does have a crits Krieg, so they're gonna have to use this soon before the Uber gets used into them, or if the Uber does get used into them, yeah, they're gonna use the crits right now, but it's not gonna do much because they are gonna go down. Lucrative goes down, but two of the Boomer Squad players have gone down as well in this last fight. They've actually dropped 3 players, and they're just gonna say, nope, let's just get out. It's time to leave.
Yeah, it was a pretty scrappy fight for them, but look, I don't know. There's only a couple of minutes left. It's not looking super good for the King's Crew here. They're getting a fight in on 2.
A lot of their players are really weak. They're about half health for most of them. So it's it's really do or die, and it seems they're more interested in dying than doing, so sometimes I'm clever. But so it's you've got basically 2 minutes left. You're on your last point. What really can you do? Because now the Boomers, they have the Uber advantage, they have the round advantage. They literally can just sit. They don't have to do anything, and they can stalemate out the rest of this 90 seconds. It's really on King's Crew to push and do something.
I'm not certain on the timings on this map anymore. I don't know if you can even do this in a minute 20, but they've used out. They're looking to take the second here. I think they're going to give it a red hot crack. A lot of damage coming out from the Boomers, though. They're taking out 3 players without even really flinching.
It's a full wipe.
4, 5, 6, yeah.
And that is the battle.
That's going to be a 3rd round the way of the Boomers, and I think We can probably call it there. So, King's Crew, they popped a couple GGs in the chat.
Yeah.
That is going to be map 2 to the Boomers. So that's 2-0. Well done, fellas. We'll get these logs up briefly. Just give us a moment. Yeah.
Do we have a third map?
No, because it's best of 3, so 2 maps, game over, you know? Start talking about these logs. I've got them up once they're up on the stream. Alright, they're up. Let's have a look at these ones. AA, which is my boy Laz. He's popping off with 34 kills for 11 deaths, followed closely by Yite with 31 and 16. Exile coming in at the top of his team for 22 and 18.
I think the first thing that pops out to me, Kozon, 5 deaths. That's compared to
so
Lucrative's 11s. That is like top tier medic positioning and brain right there.
Yeah. Having a look at the damage stats though, Questif actually coming through top DPM on the server with 353. However, both of the scouts on the Boomers both dropped. 1 319 and 1 281. Like, those are some fat damage stats. They're both out damaging the demo. And it's just really showing like the dominance of Scout in the current meta. Not really that much more to chat about other than the deaths, man. Like, Kozin doing really well. Having a look at his damage taken, he also only took 3,500. Which, like, yeah, Lucrative took 4,000, so that's actually not that much more. But it converts to 6 more deaths, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's,
I can't believe that 5 deaths. I'm gonna have to download the demos for that and just like hyper analyze that performance. It's an absolutely amazing performance by Kozin there on the medic. I mean, I just think for both teams, you had a lot of back and forth. You know, I think the first round we saw both final points being played like 2 or 3 times. But I think at the end of the day, it's interesting because at the beginning of the broadcast, we said that maybe King's Crew, having been playing together much more consistently, not taking a long break and coming back, would have the advantage. But you saw here that wasn't the case. You know, if anything, the experience, despite some of the extended breaks from players like Podolski, made all of the difference. Yeah, well, it didn't make all the difference, but it made a big difference. You know, they've been in these situations before. They know what to do, and you know that's reflected by the fact they've just taken 2 rounds off of, you know, what is actually a very good King's Crew team, and you know now they're going to be going up to the losers final against Black Bar, and then the winner of that is going to go against Ford Gaming for the grand final to decide who gets to go to the BTS Beyond the Summit TF2 tournament in mid-January 2020.
Yeah, I think that's just about enough out of our 2 ugly mugs. I believe all the rest of the games are going to be casted on the TF2 channel. Confirmation? Yes, they are. So we'll send all of our viewers over to them. Thanks for tuning in. This has been our coverage of the BTS TF2 2020 NA closed qualifiers. I hope it's been interesting. It definitely was for us. That's good, well played to the Boomers, and I think King's Crew, not someone to be slept on. I think they're doing very well.
100%.
So yeah,
100%.
That's me signing off. Have a great rest of your day, gamers.
Have a great day, guys.